Thank you very much for joining us. We begin this news hour in Algeria, where a court has sentenced two former prime ministers to long prison terms for corruption. Ahmed Ouyahia was sentenced to 15 years and his predecessor, Abdelmalek Selal, to 12. The charges came from sweeping investigations into fraud allegations after the former president, Abdelaziz Bouteflika, stepped down in April. Let's bring in HASHEM AHELBARRA, who's covered Algeria extensively for us here on Al Jazeera. HASHEM, a significant ruling that comes just 2 days before the election. Tell us first about who's been convicted and why.
Folly, it is quite significant. At the same time, it's unprecedented. You have three people widely considered by the Algerians as the main pillars of the political elite in Algeria during the time of former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, who was ousted by the mass protest movement in the country, receiving heavy sentences. So this is unprecedented. The first one is Mouad Bouchareb, who was Speaker of the Parliament, and he receives 20 years in jail. And also you have Ahmed Ouyahia, who was Prime Minister 4 times, and he's widely criticized by the Algerians and accused by being one of the masterminds of the many years of embezzlement of public funds and corruption in the country. Abdelmalek Selal was also Prime Minister twice in Algeria during the time of former President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, and at a certain point he was one of his top advisors, close to his brother Said Bouteflika, and he was one of the key architects of the attempts in the past to try to perpetuate Abdelaziz Bouteflika's grip on power. For many Algerians, these were the people responsible for the problems that the country continues to face. And I think this is quite a politically motivated move. It wants to show the Algerians that this new political establishment is adamant about the need to turn the chapter of the many years of mismanagement and embezzlement of public funds.
Interesting and unprecedented, as you say, because it's coming just 2 days before a contentious presidential election, which the protesters, people who've been asking for this establishment, this political establishment to leave, have dismissed as an illegitimate attempt by them to consolidate their power. How will they then receive this verdict?
Well, to me, this is quite obvious that this is an attempt by the political establishment in Algeria to appease those Algerians who are not going to cast their votes in 2 days from now, because they say that they went to the streets in February to not only remove Abdelaziz Bouteflika, but the whole political establishment that has run Algeria since 1962. They say that the political establishment or the political elite does not work for the country. They need something different. They need vibrant, genuine democracy. However, they were disillusioned because when they ousted President Abdelaziz Bouteflika, they ended up creating a weird situation in the country that consolidated the military's grip on power. General Guide Ahmed Saleh is the most powerful man in Algeria now. And they saw some members of the old elite still in power. For example, Badawi, who is the Prime Minister in Algeria, was the Interior Minister during Abdelaziz Bouteflika. And they said, wait a second, this is not what we were aiming for. We were aiming for a new political elite in Algeria. The political government or the political elite which is in power now is very concerned about a lower voter turnout. If that happens, let's say that only 15% of the Algerians cast their votes in 2 days from now, the next government is not going to be seen as legitimate. This explains why you're seeing those sentences today. They want to convince the people to go to the votes, and they want to tell them, you know what? We are clear-cut about the need to turn the chapter of Abdelaziz Bouteflika and his legacy. And those who served under his command and those who are responsible for the mismanagement will definitely go to jail, and they will spend the rest of their lives on long sentences. So I think this is part of the whole deal. They want to convince people that what's happening in Algeria and that the presidential elections are the beginning of a new political chapter in the country. However, I have to say, not many Algerians are convinced.
All right, thank you for that, HASHEM AHELBARRA, with the latest there from Algeria, where, again, 2 former prime ministers have been convicted and imprisoned for corruption in a landmark trial, as well as a former parliament speaker. Thank you very much, HASHEM.